Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. I'm always grateful. This Saturday, we're hosting Bob Collymore at Mindspeak. Looking forward to that. It's been a long absence, plenty to talk about. And we've also put together a little teaser, if you're interested. Please take a look. We serve breakfast from 9:30 at the Intercontinental Nairobi. We start at 10. And you're all welcome. Macro Thoughts Investopedia. Is Trump the next Ronald Reagan? We'd all like to know whether he is or isn't. I'm inclined to think that he might be. The QE consensus, as I said over the weekend, is now dead in the water, stone cold dead. I like this quote. I think it's very powerful from President Obama. I think nothing is the end of the world until the end of the world. This photograph taken from NASA, Tim Peake, London at night. I lived more years in London than anywhere else. It's a wonderful city. You can see the River Thames flowing through the centre. Many of London's famous bridges are visible. The distinctive Isle of Dogs and Thames Barrier can also be seen. No filter needed this evening here on Lamu. Beautiful photograph, haven't been there for a while. Also like this somber sunset on Lake Naivasha. Photo by Terry Wanderi. President Obama will soon turn over the keys to the surveillance state to President-elect Trump. This is an interesting situation because the executive has so many powers post-Bush and post-Obama. New York Times lobby yesterday was packed with people ahead of Trump's arrival. He said many things. One of them was, "I don't want to hurt the Clintons. I really don't. She went through a lot and suffered greatly in many different ways." Interesting interview in Forbes, how Jared Kushner won Trump the White House. It's been 1 week since Donald Trump pulled off the biggest upset in modern political history, and his headquarters at Trump Tower in New York City is a 58-story onyx glass lightning rod, barricades, TV trucks, and protesters frame a 45 Fifth Avenue. Armies of journalists and selfie-seeking tourists stalk Trump Tower's pink marble lobby, hoping to snap the next political power player who steps into view. And then saying, winners will emerge shortly, but today's biggest focus is on the biggest loser, New York Governor Chris Christie. The episode is being characterized as a knife fight that ends in a Stalin-esque purge. It's hard to overstate and hard to summarize Jared's role in the campaign, says billionaire Peter Thiel, the only significant Silicon Valley figure to publicly back Trump. If Trump was the CEO, Jared was effectively the chief operating officer. Jared Kushner is the biggest surprise of the 2016 election, adds Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, who helped design the Clinton campaign's technology system. Best I can tell, he actually ran the campaign and did it essentially with no resources. The Trump campaign delved into message tailoring, sentiment manipulation, and machine learning. The traditional campaign is dead. Another victim of the unfiltered democracy of the web, and Kushner, more than anyone, not named Donald Trump, killed it. Despite his itchy Twitter finger, Trump is a Luddite. He reportedly gets his news from print and television, and his version of email is to handwrite a note that his assistant will scan and attach. For fundraising, they turn to machine learning, installing digital marketing companies on a trading floor to make them compete for business. Ineffective ads were killed in minutes while successful ones scaled. The campaign was sending more than 100,000 uniquely tweaked ads to targeted voters each day. In the end, the richest person ever elected president, whose fundraising efforts was rightly ridiculed at the beginning of the year, raised more than $250 million in 4 months, mostly from small donors. I assume he'll be in the White House throughout the entire presidency, says News Corp billionaire Rupert Murdoch. For the next 4 or 8 years, he'll be a strong voice, maybe even the strongest after the vice president. I put up a photograph of him and a rather hyperbolic aim. Trump says Jared Kushner could broker Middle East peace. Britain tells Trump there is no vacancy for Farage as ambassador to the United States, which is the proper response. And, clearly it was really out of order, and I think they dealt with it pretty well. Exclusive Renzi's party wants early election in Italy if referendum lost. Prime Minister Matteo Renzi's party would seek an early election in Italy by the summer of 2017 if he loses a referendum on constitutional reform. Renzi's Yes campaign was 8 percentage points behind in the final surveys released on November the 18th. And I said on the 14th of November, what is clear to me is that we're watching a populist wave, a zeitgeist, which is Italy, France, and the Netherlands all in its crosshairs. I was saying France, Marine Le Pen is the most popular politician by a street, and the Netherlands is also in the crosshairs. So you've got France, Italy, Netherlands. And then I was quoting Beppe Grillo, who says, "This is the deflagration of an epoch. It's the apocalypse of the information system, of the TVs, of the big newspapers, of the intellectuals, of the journalists." Gulnara Karimova is reported to have died of poisoning only weeks after her father died. Wall Street's main indices finished at all-time highs for the second straight day, driven by investors' risk appetite. I spoke about this when I said Trump is accelerating a global flight to quality and a stampede back into US assets. The Dow closed above 19,000, setting a new record. Currency markets: euro dollar 106.35, dollar index 101.04, Japanese yen 110.92, Swiss franc 1.0113, the pound is at 124.04, the Aussie at 0.7437, India rupee 68.465. We're still unclear as to what the outcome will be of Modi's radical surgery in terms of cash. South Korean won 1177.25, the Rial 336.45, Egyptian pound on a softening trend against 17.6455, and the Rand a little bit firmer at 14.0625. Dollar index, I'll put up a 3-month chart. My new target is 110, and the reasons for that were explained on the 21st of November about the higher interest rate structure propelling the dollar. Euro dollar, some people are calling for a base here. I'm not so sure. I think parity is calling eventually. 106.28 now. Euro dollar tracks 10-year Bund US Treasury spread, says Holger. Look at the correlation. Germany's 2-year yields dropped to an all-time low of minus 0.74%, as markets expected the ECB to relax the deposit floor restriction. Look at this graphic from Hunsader. So this happened this morning. Wild price swings in multiple large futures contracts on extreme volume. Gold is last trading at 12.13. I don't see it running away to the upside. In fact, I see it running at some point to the downside. While oil market trades OPEC headlines, investors are buying call options in case of an oil output cut. This is Javier Blas. We're in that pre-OPEC period when the market tends to cover its shorts. Have a look at the oil chart that Aurelius put out yesterday. Copper is on course for its highest close in nearly 18 months. And it's very positive for Zambia. Emerging markets, there's a 1990s flashback in markets, and it's down to Trump, ringgit close to 1998 low. I said it is this realization that is now creating a negative feedback loop across emerging market assets and bond prices. Trumponomics is going to accelerate this trend. A plunging Turkish lira may force Turkey to raise interest rates for the first time in almost 3 years. And you can see the spillover effect about what I was talking about. The New York Times, a foolish power grab in the Congo. African nations can fight back against Mr. Kabila's dangerous power grab by joining Security Council members in sending a forceful message that the president must leave office on December the 19th as originally planned. Experts from Congo say the president of the Federal Senate could take over instead. If Mr. Kabila balks at leaving office, the Security Council of the European Union should tighten sanctions, as Washington has done, on senior leaders in Congo, including Mr. Kabila, until a new government takes over. I was at a function for the King's Day at the Belgian embassy, and the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Didier Reynders told me that the latest appointee as Prime Minister actually lived in Belgium, and social media speculating that he was, some kind of deal with the Belgians, but the Deputy Foreign Minister was keen to say that's not the case. President Kabila is seen here at the centre at a special joint session of Parliament. That was on Tuesday this week. This visit to Liberia and Madagascar demonstrates Canada's renewed commitment to Africa. Prime Minister Trudeau, we want to strengthen relations with our African partners and advance issues such as the rights of women and girls, gender equality, health, and peace and security. But look at where he's going. He's hardly going to the big elephants in the room. South African opposition says police to look into graft a complaint against Zuma. That would be a first. South African all shares up 0.84% this year. Dollar rand strengthening of late. Have a look at the 6-month chart. Egyptian pound softening of late. Have a look at this 1-month chart. 4 charts that show Nigeria's economic dilemma. Do take a look at these. They're between the devil and the deep blue sea, says Omotola Abimbola. And I said over the weekend that, the recent news that we're going to start arresting black market traders. It's saying it's taking policy making insanity to a whole new level. What is unfolding in Nigeria is a debacle of spectacular and monstrous proportions. A Nollywood movie all of its own. Nigerian all shares down 11.1% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index down 17.35% this year. Eni is to invest $10 billion in the Rovuma natural gas at Descalzi in Mozambique. I like this photograph. The Highlands is featured in one of the Telegraph's newest luxuries, Tanzania's Ngorongoro Safari, Africa. Beautiful photograph. Lake Malawi, which we visited earlier this year, thoroughly enjoyed my swim in it when I could find a safe place to swim. It's a UNESCO protected site and is believed to have large oil deposits. Ethiopia detained the South Sudanese rebel leader Riek Machar at the airport and forced him back to South Africa. Now, yesterday we had some interesting news. The Mauritian bank, SBM, State Bank of Mauritius, is set to acquire Kenya's Fidelity Bank. The interesting announcement came out of SBM Holdings. They said we'll acquire full ownership of Kenya's Fidelity Bank in a deal valued at 100 shillings, which is less than $1, SBM said on Tuesday. They said in a filing with the Mauritian bourse that it will inject 1.45 billion shillings of fresh capital into Fidelity once the deal gets all the required regulatory approval. The acquisition is in line with SBMH's regional expansion strategy into East Africa. SBM Group will bring its experience and expertise from Mauritius and other markets to enhance competitiveness and the resilience of Kenya's banking sector, the central bank said. Fidelity has 14 branches, is ranked 31 of the 41 Kenyan lenders by market share with 0.39%. SBM Group, which operates one of the Indian Ocean Islands' leading commercial banks, had assets of $4.2 billion as of September. Also operates in India and Madagascar. Central Bank of Kenya welcomes the interest of foreign banks that will contribute to the emergence of the world-class financial sector. Now, going back to that announcement which was carried on Reuters, Bloomberg, etc., where they're saying they're paying 100 shillings, i.e. a dollar, actually 98 US cents. Then in today's Daily Nation, Cass Kimji, who's the son of the proprietor, the main owner of Fidelity Bank, said something rather different. Have a look at this Twitter link. He's saying that they're going to pay up to 1.3 billion shillings for the shareholders. So there's a lack of clarity here and announcements in contradistinction. But this is essentially signalling that the long-awaited consolidation is underway. Shareholder funds in the first half were 1.75 billion shillings. The loan book was 9.4 billion. Bad loans causing full write-off of shareholder funds are Sunil Sangha. I think everybody's asking that. Drop in deposits from 62.7 billion shillings to 53.5 billion in 2016. That's a 15% drop as a result of a shift from Tier 2 to Tier 1 banks. This is one of the comments that came out of the Family Bank results. Wilfred Kiboro, who's the chairman of Family Bank, says it's stable and not about to collapse. Cautions against irresponsible use of social media. Announced a profit before tax of 1.4 billion shillings for Q3. It was a pleasure meeting the CEO of the Business Council for Africa yesterday, and I thank her and her team for the time at the Vega Club. The NSC Kenya has itself issued a profits warning. That is on the website if you care to take a look at it. Nairobi all shares down 5.28% this year. NSC 20 is down 19.14% this year. Dozens of poachers have been caught this year after the World Wildlife Fund installed new thermal and infrared cameras in Kenya's national parks. Trump AG pick Jeff Sessions fears Kenyan immigrants in the military more likely to be spies, according to Raw Story. Yesterday, Safaricom was the most actively traded share for the second session, closed unchanged at 20, trading at 20.25 at the finish line, with big buyers showing at 20. It's seriously underpinned at that level. TPS Serena was high-tech 5.41% to close at 19.50. Big banking news was the purchase of Fidelity Commercial Bank by the Mauritian Bank Group SBM Holdings in a deal valued at 100 shillings. Well, it's in dispute right now. KCB closed unchanged at 30.50, was the most actively traded bank stock. Equity Group closed unchanged at 31.75. Co-op Bank was up 0.71%. Standard Chartered, which was certainly the biggest beneficiary other than Citibank of deposit flight to quality, firm 2.16% to close at 189. More room to perform on the upside. Concerns in the banking industry are very, very high at the moment, and on my way out of the Matteo Club I came across the previous governor and Chatham House rules, but I can tell you that there is a sense of very strong nervousness around what can possibly happen. Stanley Fuhari IREIT has rallied 12.3%, a two-session bounce on the news of Chris Gorikabi Mobesa's appointment. You couldn't have a better price reaction than that. Finally, Lunar Sugar was up 4.55% to close at 115 and was trading at 120 up the daily limit. At the closing bell, raw sugar prices have been a standout this year. This tailwind might finally have caught up with Ramirez. Now, tomorrow we've got this Latin America summit. That's at Windsor. If you fancy coming along, do come along. There is a subscription for this particular summit. I'll be there. We'll have lots of interesting opportunities, very much a ground level opportunity. And then, of course, we have this Saturday, we have Mindspeak, Bob Collymore in the house. Looking forward to that tremendously. Hope to see you there. We have some breakfast at 9:30. We start at 10. We wrap up at midday. Once again, thank you.